Well, and looking forward to this webinar series that I'm wanting to create for you all. So let's move forward with the conversation. I'm hoping people will join if that's possible and we can move forward with things. I'm just trying to adjust my recordings so that I can see everything that's coming in and everyone who's coming in as well. So it's on recording. So welcome everyone. And this is a LinkedIn webinar for leaders, and the theme is overcoming leadership isolation. Now, I've chosen this particular title, Navigating Leadership Isolation, Building Support, Strong Support, and Networks. And why is that? Well, I'm Richard Kelly and a loneliness and well-being educator. I've had the experience of being lonely and all the mental issues that I've experienced over the years. And I believe this is a way of supporting you as a leader and how you can move forward. So let me give you a bit of a personal story. When I first assumed a leadership role years ago, the initial excitement soon gave way to a sense of isolation. I was responsible for making some very critical decisions and often without a peer to consult. Now, during that significant downturn, as I would say, because it was just mentally me playing in my head, I felt as though things were going not as they should. I felt overwhelmed and I felt alone. It was only after I reached out to former mentors and peers that advised me on and regained my footing about how to take leadership. These relationships not only were key emotionally, but allow me to have critical insights and improve my decision making throughout my period as a leader. Now, again, why this topic? What's bringing this up for me is that the fact there's been an increased responsibility and pressures to us all as leaders. Now, according to a 2023 report from the Center of Creative Leadership, 58% of leaders reported feeling isolated, leading to reduced performance and decision-making capability. That also increased another report that I found out about the impact of remote work and the pandemic. Research showed that the rise of remote work had exacerbated feelings and loneliness, with 75% of executives reporting increased stress and isolation since the pandemic. That was in 2022 from the Harvard Business Review. Another review that I found was from the World Health Organization that stated that the workplace stress and mental health issues contributed to over 1 trillion loss in productivity annually. Growing awareness of mental health. Wow, that's incredible. The other part was connection to organization success. A strong leadership support network is directly linked to higher employee engagement and organization success. That came from the Gallup report in 2022. It's interesting that, by doing this research, we can find out what's been going on, not only in our own little world, in our local area where I come from in Brussels, but globally. We see that it has effect on leadership. And that effect affects us all throughout the line of an organization. So let me talk about what I'm seeing here. This is my part. This is what I'm seeing. And then this is what I wanted to share with you all. What is understanding leadership isolation? What does it mean for you and I? Well, I see the causes of isolation. Now, there's high responsibility and decision-making pressure. They always say the higher you go up in leadership, the more responsibility you have to bear. This may be true, but again, is it not because of how we are thinking about the leadership role and what it entails? Is it not that our schools of education, of leadership schools, have not prepared us for this type of pressure? What it leads to is often fewer people you can confide in or seek advice from at that level, which which increases isolation for the directors and the CEOs of the organization. Maybe they don't fear other colleagues, and maybe they can share that. But this is just what I'm seeing from what I've been reading and investigating on. It'd be interesting to know what you all think. Are you really isolated at the top? Can you really trust your colleagues? Can you confide in them to support you? The other area, as I said, is that lack of peer level support. Now, often there's no one at the same level to share concerns with. Does this lead to a sense of loneliness for a leader in an organization? The evidence kind of bases it to that area. But is that true? Are leaders really in a sense of loneliness? It'd be interesting for you to share that as well, if you can share it in the comments later on after listening to this video. There's also pressure to maintain a strong front. I'm the boss. I'm the leader. I'm in charge. Now, leaders often feel the need to appear infallible, which can prevent them from seeking support and thus further deepening isolation. Now, these are some of the causes that I've come across from doing the research. There may be others. And again, I'd love to hear your comments on that. So, what's the impact of isolation? What does it mean to you and I as a leader? You have the stress and burnout. Yeah. The study from the Harvard Business Review of 2022 found that isolated leaders are 25% more likely to experience burnout, which can impair their ability to lead effectively. I had to make sure I got that right because this is really a big amount. 25% of us are burning out. There's also the impaired decision making. This is the isolation that can lead to echo chambers, where leaders only hear their own thoughts about them making wrong decisions or poor decisions all the time. Can you see how our thoughts can be playing with us and not recognizing them for what they are? That they're just a thought, a word that's just passing by. Alongside the stress and burnout and decision making, there's also that decreased of motivation and engagement. How many of your leaders who've felt that isolation have also felt disengaged from their board, their directors, their managers, their teams even, thus reducing the overall team morale and productivity? Now, I'm just not talking about customer service or operations. I'm talking across the board here in all types of areas of business. You could even have that in sport, even. If you're not motivated and engaged, you're going to have that issue of not being productive and thus creating the feeling that you're isolated. Another area I wanted to touch on was as it's about overcoming that isolation, it's about building strong support networks. As I mentioned right at the beginning, my experience was I reached out to a mentor. I reached out to people that I could talk to and share about this situation. So the role of a mentor is is important. It helps to increase importance and benefits of being a sounding board, providing that guidance when it's needed. And they share their experiences. We've all been there together. I don't believe no one has ever had that experience of feeling isolated. We all had it at one stage of our lives. This can help us to mitigate feelings of isolation. And thus, an American Society for Training and Development said 75% of executives say mentoring has been critical to their success. Now, mentoring could also be coaching, it could be consult. It's about confining with someone, the situation, getting their trust, gaining their confidence, gaining your own confidence and trust to move forward. The idea is to look for someone who has the experience that you lack at this moment. And it's okay to put your hand up and say, I'm lacking that experience. It's common throughout us all as leaders. It's important that we share this and be part of it. There you can then approach with clear goals and respectful of their time because they're giving you their time so that you can actually overcome this isolation. It's imperative that when you do have that relationship, it doesn't become a buddy kind of friendship. No, you have a clear agreement, a clear relationship about mentoring and mentee. There can be regular check-ins, there could be mutual respect, and a clear understanding of expectations are really key to the healthy approach of a mentor-mentee relationship. This is very specific in business because time is essence, time is money. And you need to have that routine, that commitment from yourself, knowing that you want to overcome this isolation. Just one conversation is not going to do it because you're going to have to be aware of your thoughts in the moment of what is triggering everything off that make you feel isolated as a leader. Now, I've also talked about very briefly was at the beginning, I got involved in some groups. So there's peer groups that you can do. Now, there are specific peer groups that can be consisting of leaders from various organizations, different industries that meet up to discuss challenges and share advice. They call them the master class, the master school, the whatever. You are dealing with relationships. We're dealing with human beings. We're dealing in making decisions, not only in business, but also in our private lives. So this support mechanism is warranted. It's needed. It's a guide for you to grow. And by reaching out and saying, look, I need that support from a group, people will be there supporting you. So, what steps could you do to maintain a peer group? I mean, you could identify members or choose individuals of a similar leadership level than you are. If you're at a CEO level, go with other CEOs. If you're at a director level, go with a director. If you're a manager, go with managers. Have clear objectives. Define what you want to achieve from having these groups. Because having these groups will allow you to get the best practices, provide you the best support, and at the same time, you can brainstorm solutions together. You're not alone. There's so many handbooks, there's so many books about how to be a leader. But being a leader in isolation, well, it's a subject that's so expansive that you can cover it in so many different ways. Be committed, have regular key monthly or quarterly meetings in a safe environment where you don't get disturbed and you can have them conversations. Now, there's also professional networks. I've been involved in many professional networks, and I like to go to them because I like to listen to what people are talking about. These professional networks allow you to expand your network as well, and they allow to offer you new perspectives, resources, and opportunities. LinkedIn to the excellent platform for creating new possibilities for yourself. Now, you can attend these events either online or in person. You can attend other industry events that help you to connect with like-minded professionals, not just your own industry. Join associations. I know there's plenty of associations here in Belgium, in Brussels especially, where they help other associations, they help other managers, CEOs, directors to find some structures, to find some networking opportunities. And even here on LinkedIn, engage in insights, in comments on posts, join groups that are here within LinkedIn. They're not trying to sell you things. They're just trying to support you. They're trying to give you some support in how you can grow as a leader who possibly sees he or herself as being isolated. I've got another area that I wanted to cover, which was some practical steps. And that can be identifying your guidance, what you're looking for. You could also approach mentors that you've listened to or you've been told about. Again, reach out to them. They'll tell you as well. They've possibly been isolated as well in their lifetime. Peer groups, as I said, always allow you to be encouraging, to be open, honest, and truthful with yourself, because that's where you start with. You make the initial step, and then I tell you, the world comes and helps you out in so many different ways. So, what I invite you all to listen to, because this is just an initial webinar that I've created, and I've got several others coming up now in the coming weeks. I'd like you to share, if you wish to, your experiences of what leadership, isolation, and the support networks that you've had. I encourage you to share them in the comments, or you can send me a direct message. It's important that you feel as though you can share stuff to me and to other people. The first thing is to say that, yeah, I feel lonely. I feel isolated. Doesn't make you any weaker, makes you much more stronger than you think. So there are certain areas of addressing leadership and isolation that are important and that allows you to grow and develop as a leader as well by taking ownership, by taking commitment and being a stand for you. You're being honest with yourself and acknowledging that the fact that you are in isolation at any time within your business career does allow you to grow. And it does make you a better leader. It just takes the first step. And by you taking the first step, you can move forward into who you're being. So what I do ask is that I encourage you again to take this first step today. Whether it's reaching out to a potential mentor or peer group, or even to myself, I'm happy to take your messages, your emails. My contact details are on LinkedIn. There's going to be more webinars coming up where I'll be discussing further titles, ideas that have been coming up to me to help you challenge this loneliness as a leader. So I invite you to connect with me and to connect with others to create that conversation. And above all, don't be afraid to feel as though you're on your own. I'd like to leave this closing statement to you all. By actively seeking and nurturing support networks, you can overcome leadership isolation and lead more effectively. Thank you for being part of this important, for me, conversation webinar. And let's continue to support each other in our leadership journeys. Thank you.